We continue on with our NCD1 baseball preview in the state of North Carolina. And right now, very excited to welcome back into the program the 25th year head coach of the Elon Phoenix, Coach Mike Kennedy. Coach, we appreciate your time this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Bubba. Appreciate you having us and talking Elon baseball.
Absolutely. Really glad to have you back on the show. And right off the bat, we'll talk about the elephant in the room before we dive into this year's roster and so forth. But everything over the last 10 months, a crazy time to be alive, no matter what field of work you're in. But last year, you guys got shut down about 30% of the way through the season in mid-March. So just very quickly, give us the Cliff Notes version of what it's been like for your program over the last 10 months. And I've heard a lot of coaches say that their ball clubs are even closer and better chemistry now as a result of this situation.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about that aspect and guys trying to figure out some things and learn how to get better on their own. And, some of that stuff. I think the biggest thing for us with our guys is that they've really had to gel and keep each other accountable for going out and working and getting better while they're shut down and whatever area they may be in prior to getting to campus. And then once they leave campus, some of that kind of stuff. So I would agree with that statement. I think our club is much closer than they've ever been. But I also think these guys have had to be self-sustainable. And what I mean by that is, they haven't had myself, our pitching coach, Jerry or Robbie or Van out throwing BP to them all the time, that kind of stuff. They've had to figure out ways to get it done and get it better, with their teammates and on their own. And I think that's going to attribute to that camaraderie that you're going to see probably across the board with a lot of teams. But, it's been challenging. There's no question about it. And, and it, like you said earlier, in every aspect of life, not just baseball, but certainly baseball has been affected and being shut down last year and then trying to figure out whether you're on or off, once we've been back in school, has been a great challenge. And for that reason, simply with our club, man, it's hard to know what you have other than good kids working hard together. But have you had them out enough to tell really what you have? And we're kind of in a learning process.
One of the positives, undoubtedly, for your program in the last 10 months, in September, you named a new pitching coach, a guy who had spent time in the ACC at Pittsburgh, 8 years there, I believe, and also time at Coastal Carolina. And we know the type of program they have. So
Sure.
talk about the addition of Jerry Oaks.
Yeah, Jerry's going to be great for us, man. There's no question about it. His background speaks for itself. Obviously what Coastal's done and being a part of that program, that winning tradition, certainly has rubbed off on him and then going on to Pitt and, competing at a high level in the ACC. So we're obviously excited about Jerry. He's no nonsense, man. He brings a workmanlike attitude with a will to be very, very good. He's on our guys to demand more of themselves and to work harder and not miss a beat when it comes to every little thing we do. So I think you're going to see a lot of good things out of our pitching staff. And we're excited to have Jerry here, and he's going to make guys better, no question about it.
Since we're talking about the pitching staff, tell us, entering preseason practice, which will begin officially on Friday as we're recording this on Wednesday, the 27th. Just tell us, taking a look at your staff, start off with the weekend rotation, and who are some of the guys vying for those 3 or maybe this year 4 slots?
Yeah, we're still trying to figure all that out, again, without having a true fall season. With being shut down and the ups and downs of practice and not practice. And we're trying to work through that. I think the one staple on the weekend for us will be Jared Weatherby. He's a left-hander that's had a ton of success here early in his career. And, obviously from a personal standpoint, he was impacted greatly with COVID and perhaps his ability to play at the next level. But I think he's that kind of a talent. I think he'll have that opportunity when this thing's all said and done. And right now, coming out of what we did get to do in the fall and our preseason, skill work. He's a guy. He's going to probably be the leader of that staff, and we'll pitch on the weekend. Most likely in a Friday role. We've got a few other guys that are competing and have showed some really good signs of being able to do that for us on a weekend. We have a redshirt freshman, a kid who was hurt last year, Joe Savino, who is every bit as talented as a lot of good guys we've had here. He just needs some game experience and some quality competition type experience. And he's been very successful with our lineup. I don't know if that's good or bad, but he's earned the right to get a long, hard look. And if we open up tomorrow, he's going to be on that weekend for us. Right-hander with great stuff, great ability to command the baseball. What he does will allow him to go deep in games and save some bullpens, on a long weekend. So we're excited about what he's bringing to the table. We've got a few other kids that were on their way last year prior to being derailed with some injuries. Ian Evans started midweek games for us against East Carolina, Liberty, North Carolina, and got into 5 and 6 innings on most of those ball games for us and gave us a chance. So we were excited about him and where he was headed. He suffered a knee injury and had to have surgery, so he's not quite ready. He is on the mound. He's doing some things, but I don't know that he'll be ready opening weekend, to be a starter. But I think he'll compete for that role as time goes, and will give us a great opportunity to go deep in games and win some ball games on the weekend when he's healthy. Spencer Bauer was a weekend guy for us last year as a freshman. Big right-hander, just overpowering stuff, 92 to 95 as a freshman, with a real good slider. And, he suffered an arm injury, more of a nerve type injury that you don't see very often. And was had to be shut down after the third weekend. And he's back and he's throwing. He's not quite there in terms of his fitness and stamina and things of that nature, but he's on the mound. He threw his first live BP session the other day, and a lot of good things came out of that. So it's just a matter of time and getting him healthy as well, and allowed his pitch count to get up to where he can factor in on the weekend. Brian Edgerton, man, he's been a great surprise for us. He's come back, in great shape. Some guys didn't do so with the COVID and having to go home and can't get out, but this kid went home and got himself in unbelievable shape, and he's back and he's doing really, really well. He left here on a real positive note. His last start was against East Carolina, where I think he went 5, gave up 1 run, and showed some signs. And he's been every bit as good as that since he's been back. So he's competing for a weekend job as well. So there's a 4 or 5 guys in there that we feel like will give us a great opportunity on the weekends. And then there's a few more guys that you can sprinkle in, and a Joe Sprake, a right-hander who's had some success. He's mainly pitched out of the bullpen. He might get a look. Trevor Kirk, as a freshman last year, did some really good things for us. He's got a shot to do some things and then be successful for us. We've got a freshman in Cole Reynolds, who's got a big arm, left-hander, 90-92, got a chance to be really, really special. So those guys will be in the mix as well.
And very quickly, if you would, before we shift over and talk about things on the offensive side and positionally, who are some of the top options out of the bullpen? I know some of those you may have just referenced if they don't fit into the rotation.
Yeah, I think Cole Reynolds initially will be a kid that we use out of the pen. He's the left-hander I talked about, a freshman guy. Joe Sprake has historically closed for us. We're going to stretch him out to start the preseason, but he could end up in that role as well. I think the biggest guy on the back end potentially might be a Ben Simon, a freshman right-hander. He's been up to 93 for us with a really, really good slider. So we're really excited about what he brings to the table. If some of those other guys can go deep in games, we can use him in a role that we think he could be very successful in closing for us. So we're excited about what he brings to the table. We've got another freshman out of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, Ben Siraki, man whose pitchability is very, very good. He's going to give us some innings in some form or fashion, and I think he'll help us and then help us right away. And we got a couple guys, Kyle Greenler, who's had some success at this level. Will be I guess what we call a COVID sophomore, but he's pitched quite a bit for us out of the bullpen, and he'll continue to do that, and he's been pretty good at it. So those guys kind of stick out in those roles, and just a matter of who does what and where they land. But we think those guys are all capable of keeping us in ball games, and Ben Simon may be on the back end of shutting the door for us.
Positionally, talk about some of your top returners, and then also guys that may be emerging onto the scene this year. Discuss defensively, and then also how they swing the bat.
Sure. Defensively, I think we'll be solid. I think we'll be very solid in the infield. We're still trying to find out exactly who's going to be where in the middle. We've got 2 or 3 guys who are competing and doing some really good things, and the challenge will be, whoever wins that shortstop job. The next guy may slide over to second. We've got a second baseman that's very capable of doing some things offensively that could end up at first base. So we got a lot of things that we're still trying to figure out. Adam Sperling has been outstanding for us At short. He's played very, very well there for, done a lot of good things for us. But he's going to pitch some out of the bullpen, and his stuff is really good. So it's going to be a challenge trying to balance, playing shortstop maybe and pitching on the back end of your bullpen. So he might see some time at second base, probably more than he wants to, but it'll be a situation that keeps him healthy, keeps his arm healthy, and gives us a chance to be, solid everywhere. We've got a junior college kid and Carlos Marte who's got some high end skills defensively. Truth be told, we haven't seen enough of him offensively with the fall and losing up quite a bit of time, but he certainly does some things well defensively. He and Adam are probably as good as it gets in the middle of that infield. So they can do some really good things defensively and anchor the middle where you want to be good. Jared Pico's been very, very good for us. Probably been better offensively than he has defensively, but he's a kid that can play some second base and do some really good things for us. He's in a good place, and we really like where he's come back. He's one of those kids who decided to come back as a COVID senior, and he's making the best of that and doing some really good things for us. Out in the outfield, we have some options. I think we have a lineup that could be defensive, and when we put our best defense out there, it gives us a chance to maybe late in the game, you want to put your best defensive lineup when you have a lead. We've got that lineup where you would have a Tyler Cranston in center field. He can go get it, plays a very good center field for us. Alex Hyde Decernia would probably end up in right if we were going to do something along those lines. And then Anthony Gallus and JP Sponsell or some of those type guys would anchor us in left. But that gives us a pretty good defensive lineup out there in the outfield. Corner infield, Stonehouse has been with us for a long time. He's a COVID senior as well. He's battled some injuries the last 2 years and, hasn't been able to get through a full year, but we feel like he's healthy. He's in a good place right now. He plays a very good third base for us, so that anchors that up. Cole Reynolds is the kid that I mentioned to you out of the bullpen, left-hander, but he's also a two-way guy and plays first base. And, man, he's as good as we've had around that bag here in a long, long time. He'll make some guys look better than they really are and take away some mistakes, maybe throwing the baseball across the diamond for some of our other guys. So we're excited about what he brings to the table defensively there. Jack Roberts can play second or first, does some really good things defensively at first. So we feel good that we could put a good defensive lineup on the field with those guys. We've got some really good battles going on behind the plate. Parker Haskins, the transfer from Tulane, is doing some really, really good things for us. Nick Cece's been in our program a little while. He's battling back there as well as Matt Oldham and Willie Haven. So we've got 4 guys that are really getting after it. They're pushing each other. They're working extremely hard, and it's going to be interesting to see how that all pans out.
Final question for you, Coach. Taking a look at the 2021 schedule, obviously so many logistical issues to be worked through when it comes to testing on numerous levels, and then travel, etc. But just talk about everything that's going into getting these games in, number one, and then what the 2021 schedule is going to look like, because I know the CAA is going to a divisional format
Sure.
with you guys, with College of Charleston, James Madison, William and Mary, and UNC Wilmington.
Yeah, scheduling has been hectic, man, to say the least. It's been probably the most challenging thing we've done here, trying to figure it all out and get it done. And truth be told, to this point, we're not even done. We play in 3 weeks, and we've got a couple open weekends, and we're in conversations with programs across the country trying to figure it out whether we can play or can't play. And like you mentioned, testing is always a factor in that. Who's going to test when and how much, and so that's been playing a role in it. But we've been able to figure out a 24-game conference schedule where we're in the South Division, as you mentioned, us, Wilmington, Charleston, William and Mary, and JMU, man. And boy, that's a tough half of this division. I can tell you that. I'm not looking forward to playing Wilmington 3 times, let alone 6. And Charleston the same, and all those guys. Man, those guys do a good job with their programs, and there's some good baseball. So we're going to have to be ready to play. And if we're not, it might tell on us quite a bit. But that's going to be exciting as well. I think we're all in the same boat in that, man, we just want to play. After what happened to us last year and losing the season, and with our guys having a lot of downtime from practice because of COVID testing and things of that nature. I think I speak for everybody in our program, man. We don't care who we play. Let's just play. but the league has figured that part out. It's going to be challenging, no question, but it'll be a good schedule, no doubt about that. And then, we're fortunate, man. North Carolina is a great place for college baseball. You talked about talking to Charlotte and Duke and, Carolina State, Wake, all these people right around us. We're blessed to have great baseball. And, we're going to probably all see each other pick up games as we go along and move games around when something goes wrong. And so I think from that standpoint, we'll all figure it out. We're opening it up at Greensboro, which is normally a midweek uh, home and home for us, but we're going to play 3 on the weekend there. It makes sense with what's going on in travel and COVID. And so those are the type things you see. A&T, those guys do a great job. We'll play those guys in the 3-game set. So those are kind of some of the COVID type things that have come into place is really not traveling quite as much and kind of staying locally. And fortunately for us, North Carolina baseball is really, really good.
Yeah, it really is. And it's always nice from a scheduling standpoint to be located in such a baseball hotbed, but even more so this year, I would imagine. Coach, we appreciate your time this morning. It's always great to have you on the show, and we'd love to have you back on sometime during the season if you're not too busy.
Yeah, let's do it, Bub. We'd love to be on it, man. We appreciate what you guys do for all of us here in North Carolina.